it's Q, and I am the art director for She Prints It. And it is March, and it is time for questions with Q. And this month, I just wanted to elaborate on what I was speaking about the last questions with Q, which was getting you trade show ready. And in the last one, I spoke about layout design. Excuse me. I spoke about layout design. That was one of my tips. And I just wanted to talk more about that because I think that one is very important. So let me give you a few more tips on layout design when it comes to your retractable banners to get you ready for trade show season. So number one, make sure you know what's important to your brand. And what do I mean by that? What do I mean when I say what's important to your brand? So you really need to figure out, if you haven't already, do a deep dive on your brand and figure out what's the main product or service that you offer that customers come to you for. Again, a lot of people, like I said in the last video, when they start designing things, they automatically want to throw themselves in the mix. And it's not to say you shouldn't be a part of it, but you really need to focus on your product or your service, because you have to step outside of yourself and think about the people who are going to come to your booth, right? You paid a lot of money for this booth, you want a good return on investment. And so you need to get out of your own head and think about, I am a person, there is a sea of people trying to get my attention, try to compete for my dollars, my time, my conversation, but I need XYZ. So I'm walking around looking for XYZ. You need your product or your service to be front and center. It needs to be big, it needs to be bold. So you need to, and even think about what show are you going to be at. There are a lot of different type of trade shows with a lot of different types of people who attend. Maybe you have different products, you have different services, but it might make more sense for you to focus on a certain product or service because of the type of show you're at. Say you're at a trade show and it's a fitness trade show and you have a product that might be good for workout recovery. I'm not sure, can't think of anything off the top of my head, but think about it like that. Like, say you make a nice headband or something, I don't know, something that might make sense, then you might want to highlight that versus your nice silk shirts that you sell. I don't know. Think about it like that. It's definitely a lot to think about, but now is the time. Okay, boom. Number two, make sure that you read, excuse me, make sure that you use bold, easy to read fonts for your headline. Now, I'm not sure if you already have your brand fonts, you should. If not, you need to hit us up. But if you, you need to make sure that your fonts are bold, that you're using a bold font when it comes to making a headline for your banner. Like, people need to be able to not only get a nice visual of what you are selling, but also be able to see clearly a headline that will draw them in, just in case they might not be able to see or recognize the product or service. You want to make sure that your fonts are very bold and not too much script font. I see that that's a huge mistake. Is people, depending on their brand, say they have a script font that's a big part of their brand. It's not to say don't use it, but trying to use a script font as a headline is hard to do. It's just not as easy to read. Most script fonts, they're just not naturally as easy to read as a serif or a sans serif font. So definitely make sure, maybe you have to mix it up and you don't use the script as much if it is a part of your brand. Like, there's ways around it, but you want to make sure that you have a bold headline and you don't have too many words so that your banner stands out and it's easy to read, because that's just going to get you that many more people that's going to come over and be interested in what you have to say. Number three is also related to text. It's another strategy to make sure your text pops, because another thing that I see big mistake is when people do not give a good healthy contrast between the background of the design and the text, right? Like, your text is too close to the color of your background and it just kind of looks like nothing. Like, obviously there are words there, but you have to take yourself out of your shoes and think about somebody else. You got to make things easy for people, as easy as you can possibly make it. And I know it might look good or you might like this color combo, but if it's difficult to read for you, because I've also seen this where people are like, can you read that? If you got to ask if somebody can read something, they can't read it, right? And we don't want to miss anybody, right? The goal of making these trade show materials, because they're costly, right? Making trade show stuff ain't cheap. We get it. But that's why we, are giving you guys this information, because we want to make sure whether we help you or somebody else helps you, that you won't have to keep redoing it because the design, the layout is not giving what it needs to give. Like, no, we're going to make sure that you are prepared. And part of that is making sure your text, your headlines are very legible, because for any person who walks past your booth at your trade show and they can't read it, guess what? They're just gonna keep going. A lot of times we don't step outside of ourselves, and you got to think about you in somebody else's shoes. If I don't know you, your brand is your baby. It's near and dear to your heart. You love it so much. It means everything to you. You've been working on it, and you're right. You absolutely have. A lot of people that have small businesses that pour their everything into them, and that's why you have to give it the love and attention it deserves, when it comes to your marketing. Because if you put all of this energy in your marketing and then you're losing people for some reason for something that can be fixed like this, it's a shame. So make sure that your text is popping and you're giving a healthy contrast so that your text is even more legible. So our next tip, it's pretty simple, and this goes for anybody who's actually doing the designing firsthand, or if it's your design, you got somebody designing for you. I'm gonna tell you right now, don't put the important information at the bottom. Speaking from experience, don't put anything at the bottom of your design that you don't want to get chopped off. The thing about retractable banners, how a lot of them are made, is they have a base at the bottom, so you really want to give it some breathing room for spatial purposes, because that base takes up some of the space at the bottom. And I've made the mistake of putting text at the bottom and it's gotten cut off. I've had to redo it. And also, again, think about people coming up to you reading. People, they're gonna look. They're not gonna look at the ground. So if you got all your contact information at the very, very, very bottom, and it's small, and you didn't follow the first rules, and it's hard to read, like, you want to make things easy as possible. So if you have the space, try to put the most important elements at the top, even if there are other elements. Like at the bottom is a good place to kind of put some photos or something that if it got cut off, it wouldn't be the end of the world. It might look strategic. So that's definitely a hack from somebody who has done that many times myself. Watch the bottom of your design also, because we want it to be easy for people to read. Hey y'all, so number 5, very last tip. I definitely talked about this in the other video. It was probably its old tip, but I'm gonna say it again because this is the biggest thing that I see people, we all at She Prints It, all graphic designers, printers alike, we see it all the time. You need high resolution everything. You need high resolution photos. You need vector files of your logo. If you have access to raw files of photos, that'd be amazing. If it's a stock image, make sure, if you have to pay to get a high-res stock image, please, it's much more cost efficient to pay for a better resolution stock image than to print something blurry and then now you look cheap, and you don't have to. That's a big one. And the thing about high resolution that is, it's complicated for people who don't deal with design. They're just like, what is that? I don't care. Like, they might not know. And also, calling something high resolution is technically, it can be subjective based on what you're doing, because what might be high resolution for your banner at the trade show will not work for a billboard on Peachtree, right? These levels. When in doubt, a raw file of a photo is the best thing you could have, but most people don't necessarily have access to raw files. As a photographer, not all photographers are going to give up raw files to you. So just make sure that you have a nice quality photo. And then if you also have a good company that you're working with, like She Prints It, and you can ask, hey, is this photo high resolution? Will this be good enough for my banner? And we'll tell you, hey, it might work. We'll tell you. At the end of the day, a lot of people will just take your money. Your design might not be high resolution, but you send it to them, you check a box saying that you consent for it to be printed as is, and they're not even going to look out for you and tell you like, hey girl, this is going to look a mess, and then you get it and it looks a mess and you're upset. That's why it is so good to have a relationship with a designer. It's good to have a relationship with a printer that you trust, because they can help you save money, right, in the long run, because it's costly mistake. These things aren't cheap, but we want to get them done right so we don't have to keep doing them. And that is what we offer at She Prints It. I am the art director, like I said. So if you need a cool graphic design, if you have no idea what you're doing but you just need help, we are here for you. We are approachable. As you can see, we're giving you content for free because we just want to see you guys win. So, the information is below if you want to work with us, if you want to work with me, and if you have any questions for Q. Also, that information is below. You could send me an email. Email is my love language. And I could, make you a video. I could talk to you one-on-one, whatever you need. But we are here for you at She Prints It, and trade, I cannot say that. I couldn't say in the first video, y'all. Trade show season is upon us. So make sure you're getting ready and you're not, running around like a chicken with your head cut off, as my mama would say. We want you guys to be ready. So that's why we're trying to make some more content, because we just want to see you guys win. But that's all for questions with Q. And of course, all information is at the bottom, and make sure you're following She Prints It. Till next time.